What's good, YouTube? It's LUISGUSTO. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're in a city located on the shore of Lake Michigan. It's home to the 2021 NBA champs and is also known as the Cream City for its historic buildings constructed with the locally made cream-colored brick. That's right, we're in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. In this film, we're going to be answering some questions like, is Milwaukee still the biggest beer producer in the United States? What are some of the neighborhoods that make up Milwaukee? What are the best things to do and foods to eat in Milwaukee? Before we get started, come on, you already know what to do. Go ahead and finesse that like button, subscribe if you are new to the channel, and be sure to join our growing Patreon community. I also have a trivia question for you guys. Pabst Blue Ribbon is perhaps the most iconic beer to ever come out of Milwaukee. It was once known as Pabst Select. How did it get the Blue Ribbon name? And with that all out the way, let's go ahead and explore Milwaukee. The city of Milwaukee is located in southeastern Wisconsin on the shore of Lake Michigan, about 90 miles from Chicago. The city grew out from the intersection of three rivers, the Menominee, the Kinnickinnick, and the Milwaukee. Nearby major cities include Detroit and Minneapolis. To get to Milwaukee, we took the Amtrak Hiawatha route into the Milwaukee Intermodal Station located downtown. You can also fly into General Mitchell International Airport or even take a ferry from Michigan. Getting around the city is super easy thanks to the public transportation. You can take the buses or a streetcar. There's only one line right now, but a new one is coming in 2022. Bubbler Bikes is the bike sharing system in Milwaukee. You can also get around via electric scooters. But if you do want to remain on foot, rest assured that Milwaukee is one of the most walkable cities. The Milwaukee Bucks recently made history by bringing their second NBA championship to a city known for its rivers, beer, and German heritage. But for thousands of years before Germans were brewing beer in this region, Native Americans called this land home. Tribes like the Fox, Ojibwe, and Potawatomi lived at the intersection of the three rivers. The French were the first Europeans in this area, and they mainly fur traded with the Indians. But after the War of 1812, the various tribes were slowly but surely forced out of this area. The name Milwaukee comes from an Algonquin word meaning good, pleasant, or beautiful land. There were actually several different anglicized spellings of this word up until the name that we know today was formalized in the city charter. Modern Milwaukee has three founding fathers: Solomon Juneau, Byron Kilbourne, and George H. Walker. Each one of them founded their own town. The legacies of these three founders live on in this town in various ways, like the names of the streets and neighborhoods. There was no love lost among these three towns, and this culminated in the Milwaukee Bridge War. The aftermath led to the merging of the three towns and the founding of Milwaukee in 1846. Solomon Juneau was elected the newly formed city's very first mayor. After New Englanders, Germans and Polish were the next two big ethnic groups to settle in Milwaukee. As the years went on, more ethnic groups from Europe would settle in Milwaukee, along with African Americans during the Great Migration, and later Latinos, specifically Mexicans and Puerto Ricans. Today, Milwaukee is one of the most diverse cities in the entire United States. Industry and shipping flourished in Milwaukee, thanks in part to its position on Lake Michigan. Wheat harvesting, machining, and manufacturing were all major parts of the economy for many years. However, a negative side effect of this was the extreme pollution of Milwaukee's waterways. Machines like the typewriter and even the world's first steel automobile frame were invented right here. Companies that are headquartered and or were founded in Milwaukee include Northwestern Mutual, Kohl's, and Harley-Davidson. Despite its long-running industrial success, Milwaukee was hurt by the globalization of industry in the mid-19th century. White flight and urban decay also took their tolls on this city. Milwaukee also lost historic buildings and neighborhoods for construction of parking lots and expressways. More recently, though, the city has experienced a resurgence with new construction, a shift in economy, and an uptick in tourism. Even those waterways that were polluted back in the day have been significantly cleaned up. But there's one industry that, despite all the major changes of the past 175 years, has continued to thrive in this city: brewing. When Germans began settling in the United States in the early 19th century, they brought along their music, architecture, and of course, knowledge of beer. However, the very first brewery founded in this city was created by Welsh immigrants, the very simply named Milwaukee Brewery in 1840. Over the years, many more breweries would be founded right here, giving Milwaukee the nickname Brew City. Among all these beer makers, some of the most prominent include Schlitz, Blatz, and Miller. The Pabst Brewing Company was founded in 1844, but was once known as Best & Company after its founder, Jacob Best. For several decades, Milwaukee was the leading beer producer in the entire United States. And though only one major brewery remains, in recent years, the craft brew scene has really taken off, grabbing the torch and continuing the grand tradition of beer making in this great Midwestern city. Milwaukee is broken up into over 100 neighborhoods, including West Town, East Town, Historic Third Ward, Lincoln Village, River West, the East Side, and the historic Water Tower neighborhood. Let us know in the comments if you want us to explore more of Milwaukee's neighborhoods in the future. In many ways, the architecture of Milwaukee is very similar to that of Chicago. Legendary Chicago firms like Marshall & Fox, Skidmore, Owings & Merrill, and Halliburton Roche have all designed buildings in this city. Similarities aside, Milwaukee definitely has its own architectural identity and its own legendary designers. Milwaukee City Hall is arguably the most iconic structure in the city. It was built in 1895 and was the tallest edifice in the area for almost 80 years. When the Pabst Theater opened in 1895, it had all-electric lights, an electric organ, and an air conditioner, rarities for the era. It is now a National Historic Landmark. The Mackey Building is clad in Minnesota granite, limestone, and gray sandstone. Once home to the Chamber of Commerce, today it's a trendy apartment building. The Mitchell Building dates back to 1876 and stands on the site of the home of Milwaukee founder Solomon Juneau. It is an amazing example of Second Empire style and my personal favorite building in the city. The Milwaukee Federal Building is a beautiful Richardsonian Romanesque structure that was built in 1893. It underwent a 7-year restoration in the 1990s. Skidmore, Owings & Merrill designed the tallest building in Milwaukee, the U.S. Bank Center, formerly known as the first Wisconsin Center, built from 1971 to 1973. The second tallest building in the Brew City houses Northwestern Mutual and went up in 2017, very close to their former neoclassical home built in 1914. The Wisconsin Gas Company building is a dope example of Art Deco and is topped by a weather beacon in the form of a flame. You'll find plenty cast iron facade buildings in Soho, but the Iron Block Building is Milwaukee's only such structure. It was restored by the Dental Associates, whose name you'll find inscribed near the cornice. 100 East Wisconsin sits on the site of the Pabst Building, Milwaukee's very first skyscraper. This postmodern structure pays homage to its predecessor and was completed in 1989. Milwaukee has many more architectural marvels. Let us know in the comments if you'd like more architecture content. Milwaukee has an up-and-coming food scene with great restaurants not just downtown, but in surrounding neighborhoods like the historic Third Ward, River West, and the East Side. We are grabbing breakfast here at Sweet Diner, La Masa Empanada Bar. Lakefront Brewery is one of the best craft breweries here in Milwaukee. Today we're at Mater's for dinner. Narissa and I went on a food and beer tour of Milwaukee. Check out the first link in description. Since 1888, the Milwaukee Art Museum has been bringing fine culture to the people of southeastern Wisconsin. This museum has gone through several iterations and is the result of different institutions merging to become one. Today, their 30,000 plus works are housed in 3 different buildings right here on the shores of Lake Michigan. There's a Brutalist building, a mid-century modern building, but of course the highlight is the 2001 Quadrachi Pavilion designed by world-renowned Spanish architect Santiago Calatrava. And honestly, just walking around this campus is so much fun. It's the type of museum that you have to visit more than once because you just can't see everything in one visit. They have a temporary exhibit right now called Americans in Spain. Very well done. I enjoyed it. They also have a beautiful contemporary art collection as well as European, American, Haitian art collection. So much to see. Beautiful views of Lake Michigan. It's definitely worth the price of admission. The Mitchell Park Domes house a horticultural conservatory in Milwaukee's Mitchell Park. This is one of the city's original 6 parks. These are the world's first conoidal domes. Each one houses a different climate. There's a show dome with beautiful flowers and seasonal displays. There's an arid dome with that desert climate, cacti and desert trees, a lot of plants native to South Africa. Then there's the tropical dome. You got a koi palm, palms, cacao plants, banana, birds chirping in there. They were built in 1959 to replace an older, more traditional Victorian style conservatory, kind of like the ones we have back in Chicago. I mean, honestly, the designs here are like retro futuristic. I really love this. Each dome is just majestic. You kind of sit inside, look up top, and You see all the plants and natural wonders around you. Narissa and I had a great time in there, but hey, we are nature lovers. Still, even if you're not, I think this is a must visit when you're in Milwaukee. We are in the Captain Frederick Pabst Mansion here in Milwaukee. This is one of the most beautiful landmarks in all of the Midwest. It's a Flemish Renaissance Revival mansion that was completed in 1892 for the cost of about $250,000. Captain Frederick Pabst ran the Pabst Brewery. He was a steamship captain on the Great Lakes. Before that, he immigrated from Germany to Chicago. This is a beautiful mansion right here on Wisconsin Avenue, which was once known as Grand Avenue. The Pabst family lived here for many years, but eventually sold to the Archdiocese of Milwaukee, where it stayed for several years. It was threatened with demolition in later years, but thankfully preservationists stepped up. And today, it's a national landmark and a house museum. We took a self-guided tour. Quite a lovely experience. I highly recommend this when you're in Milwaukee. We just did the history tour at the best place here at the historic Pabst Brewery. And although Pabst is no longer brewed in Milwaukee, the history goes back so many years. They were the biggest beer manufacturer in the United States. They even survived Prohibition. This entire district was all Pabst buildings at one time. In fact, they sent beer down to Chicago after the Great Fire of 1871. It's less of a walking tour and more of a history lesson, but the docent was super energetic, and one of the best parts of the tour is that it comes with a free beer. The Basilica of St. Josaphat is one of the most beautiful church buildings you will ever see in your life. It was built in 1901 for the St. Josaphat's Parish, founded right here in Milwaukee in 1888 for the Polish congregation on the south side of Milwaukee in this neighborhood, Lincoln Village. The construction of this building used old salvage materials from two buildings in Chicago. Construction was so expensive on this church that for nearly 30 years, the inside was completely undecorated until they hired an Italian artist to paint all these beautiful murals in the 1920s. In 1929, it was certified an official basilica. It's completely free to come visit here, though a donation is suggested, and I highly recommend that you do this when you visit Milwaukee. Lakefront Brewery is one of the best craft beer brewers, not just in Milwaukee, but in the entire country. They're here in the River West neighborhood of Milwaukee, and Narissa and I went on a beer brewery tour. We learned all about the history of this. They opened up in 1987, but 10 years later moved into this building. It's a cream city brick historic building from the 19th century, located right on the Milwaukee River. It was a former coal power plant. You get 2 free beers on the tour, plus commemorative pint glasses. They also have a beer hall in here. It's definitely one of the best things to do in Milwaukee. The Pfister Hotel dates all the way back to 1893. It's Milwaukee's most historic hotel. And one of the best things to do in Milwaukee is to grab drinks in their lobby bar. This is an elegant lobby with a piano player, really nice furniture and decor. I got a Tom Collins to kind of commemorate the classiness of this event. Cheers.
The Milwaukee Riverwalk is completely free and a fun way to watch the city go by. Don't forget to catch up on your reading at the Central Branch of the Milwaukee Public Library.
If there's one thing that Milwaukee has no shortage of, it's hotels. You can find them all over downtown and in the surrounding neighborhoods. In 2019, Narissa and I stayed in a really nice Polish flat, Airbnb, but this time we wanted to stay downtown to kind of be closer to all the action and surrounding neighborhoods when we wanted to go out there. Milwaukee has some historic hotels like the Hilton City Center, which was once the Schroeder Hotel, the Pfister, which is Milwaukee's most famous hotel. Fun fact about the Pfister is that they have the largest Victorian art collection of any hotel in the entire world. Kind of blows your mind, doesn't it? For this trip, we decided to stay at the Springhill Suites by Marriott. Every room in this hotel is a suite. It's a converted former industrial building right here at the intersection of Wisconsin and Belle R. Phillips Avenue. Right across the street from the Wisconsin Center, so there's lots of conventions going on. This weekend, I think, is a triathlon right on Lake Michigan, and some of the athletes are actually staying in this hotel. It's a nice suite. We have a fridge, a coffee maker, a flat panel TV, a little dresser, a desk, sofa. The washroom has the sliding door. It was a really good shower, good water pressure, good temperature. The air conditioning was powerful. When I put that down to 67 to sleep at night, boom, I was out like a log. The king size bed is super comfortable. The staff is very friendly. They got a couple of things wrong. A couple of times we asked for coffee and they didn't bring it to us, and then we asked for cups and they brought us coffee instead. But I think they were trying their best during this time. We did ask for a late checkout and we were granted that. So overall, I had a great stay. Would I stay in the Springhill Suites again? Yeah, but I wouldn't be going out of my way to do so, just because there are other hotels like the historic Pfister or the Hilton Garden Inn or City Center that I really want to stay at for the next time. But if I had to stay here again, I absolutely would, and I highly recommend this to anybody coming to Milwaukee for a long weekend. Despite the fact that I visited Wisconsin as a kid, I don't really remember coming to Milwaukee, so I officially count this as my second visit to the Brew City. Narissa and I spent about a week here so that we could create lots of content, but I think a weekend would suffice if you're coming from a larger city. I really love Milwaukee's streetcar system, the Hop. Having a streetcar in a modern day city like Milwaukee is amazing. I'm hoping that Chicago will bring back the streetcar system sometime in the future. You really don't need cars downtown anymore. It's kind of pointless. Electric scooters are also a great way to get around this city. For our first few days here, Narissa and I were buzzing all around downtown, getting to where we needed, and it was fantastic. Midway through our trip, the city abruptly paused scooter service downtown with the excuse that people were riding on the sidewalks, which I think is kind of bogus because they don't really have any protected bike lanes, so where do you expect people to ride? Plus, cars do way worse and they're not banned from downtown, so something clearly needs to be figured out there. But overall, Milwaukee is a great town. I really love it here. It's kind of like Chicago's little brother, and I don't say that in a disparaging way. I say that with all affection. I would definitely come back to Milwaukee in a heartbeat. Thank goodness for that Amtrak service. If there are any spots in Milwaukee that we missed, let us know in the comments below and we'll hit them up next time. Did you get the answer to the trivia question? Pabst Blue Ribbon got its name from the blue ribbons that the company used to tie around the bottlenecks, not from any award that the beer may have won. I would really appreciate it if you share this film with your very best friend. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time, but for now, I'm out of here. Peace and blessings.